in this video, I'd like to discuss fundamental body mechanics and breathing for my Tai Chi program for functional fitness. So there's 3 levels of the program. Each one we would take a deeper look into body mechanics and into breathing. I'm going to leave the breathing like this. There are a lot of practitioners or teachers that they want you to do different things with your breathing and all of these things. And at the same time, you're trying to learn these movements and how these things work and all of that. And I'm going to say in the beginning stages, if you're learning this program and you're learning this level 1, just stick with natural breathing, right? If we really wanted to do a deep dive, let's say something is coming toward me, or I'm going to breathe in, and something is coming away from me, I'm going to breathe out. Beyond that, I really wouldn't put a lot of emphasis in it, just natural breathing. And I'm not talking about a chest breather, I'm talking about breathing from the abdomen, breathing from down here, up from the chest. So, the biggest thing I want to discuss in this video is these fundamental body mechanic components that are really, really important. There's a lot of people that do any type of activity, whether it be tennis or basketball, Tai Chi, and by doing these repetitive actions over and over, you can cause joint issues, and we want to avoid that, and as much as we can, because a lot of people that are coming to Tai Chi are older and potentially already have maybe back issues, knee issues, or shoulder issues, ankle issues, etc. So we want to minimize any additional inflammation or chronic issue that could come about from doing these repetitive actions. At the same time, we don't want to develop those. In other words, if you're doing Tai Chi and you're teaching it and you end up having to have a knee operation because the way you're doing it, you need to correct that. And at the same time, what about the pupils that you've been teaching? Are they doing the same actions that potentially could damage them too? And more than likely, yes. Okay, that being said, I've discussed this in several of the videos that I do, and a lot of ways that people do Tai Chi. And the reason I wear clothes like this instead of big baggy clothes is so you can see my posture and the structure of my body. But a lot of people that do Tai Chi, they do it this way, right? So they're shifting back and forth, right? You see, I'm shifting into the knee and kind of just roll the hip up, so kind of like that. And you'll even see this, right? See these kind of actions. And we're going to look at a couple of different ones, but we're going to look at this first. So how when we do Chang Tai Chi, how is it different? Well, when I'm going to load my buttocks and my legs, and I'm going to drive in this way. So I'm engaging the buttocks, the leg muscles, and somewhat the core. And if you look at my knee, it never travels, right? Now this is okay, a little bit of this action, but if you're doing this, you're putting all of this pressure and force into the back of the patella or into the knee. And tell me, over a period of time, you're gonna cause inflammation, you're gonna damage the knee. If you notice, it's very gentle the way I'm doing this. And whether you're doing the squat jiao and the Chang Tai Chi trend, and you're looking at for application, I wouldn't want to do this. By doing this, like, think you're shifting the body forward, right? And I want to push something, hit something, and if I'm doing this and this at the same time, portion of the forward momentum and the force, right, that I'm generating is going into my knee instead of to my hand. Whereas I do it this way, so much more of the momentum and the force can be generated into my hand. There's a saying, like it starts in the feet, it goes to the waist, and it goes out to the hands. Well, that's great, but if I'm doing it this way, then I'm not even following that fundamental principle. Okay? And then there are movements where we'll say, I will do this, right? But it's not because I'm shifting, but because I'm drawing the whole body back. If you notice, I'm not blocking this, like I'm pulling something down. But just to do this because you're doing this next push, right? Or here's another example. I'm here, you can see here, you'll see this a lot. Okay, well, I can get so much more out of this by doing this. Okay, so I avoid this type of motion, and as it relates to my torso, if you look, I'm in a straight line. Okay? But a lot of people, when they do something forward, they will round the lower back. They'll do it like this. See how it's rounded? Instead of being here. So then when you round it, whatever you're trying to push or hit, there's going to be force that goes back to you, right? So for reaction force. And if I do this and I'm pinching my spine, I've created a block point, we'll say, or a lock point. And so then all of that additional reverb is going to go into my spine. Now some, you bend, but I'm talking about the ones that do this kind of action. Also, too, you'll see this. You see how the foot is pointing the other direction. And so my hip, my knee, and even somewhat my ankle, I'm pushing force into the side of this hinge, my knee. I don't want to do that. You'll even see this type of stuff. Forcing into the knee and straightening out the back leg. We want to make sure that this leg, the foot is turned so the knee is over it, for one. Right? We want to have this, and we also want to be able to turn our hip all the way to the front to generate power. And again, I don't need to force into the leg. So you'll see me when I'm doing Chang Tai Chi, you'll see me shifting, like say for example, I do this motion. You see how I'm turning and shifting my feet? I do that and I put more into the muscles and less into the joints, meaning I'm not fixing a joint and then all of that additional force or momentum that I'm creating, I'm putting it into the joint and then potentially the joint in the wrong direction, right? Like this. If I'm doing this for application, I would never be able to turn my hip all the way. Now you could force your hip, but then now you're going to hurt the back too. But if I just gently be able to move this. Other times too, a lot of people that do Tai Chi, their feet are fixed, right? And they're going to do whatever, like say something like snake crease down. And you see how my knee is so twisted? You will see that type of action. And they'll come up like this. It just doesn't make sense to do that. You're going to hurt your knee. So be sure that the joints are always in the proper alignment. Is it pivot or is it a hinge, right? And that will help a lot. But so whenever I'm doing things like Tai Chi walking, I want to load, open and load the muscles. Drive with it. Drive. Ask yourself this question. If I was going to push a car, would it be easier for me to do this and then use all of these muscles? Or would it be easier for me to push like this? You have to be, realistic about it. Other movements too, I've seen people do that we don't want to do, and that's with our upper body. Like, extending everything like this. Well, there's some moves where extending the movements is great, but look, it needs to have this openness of the joint. If you're locking everything out like this, it's not good. You're going to end up causing issues, and you can't create a kinetic chain when you lock a joint. The joints have to be loose for me to do something. See, even when I do this, I don't hyperextend anything because then I can't use the reaction force and send it down into my body. But this way, I can, right? Everything is open. So that's what I mean by body mechanics. Not just the coordination of the movements and how they all go together and all of that, but let's take care of our joints, right? We don't want to end up with creating more of an issue for our bodies than we already have. And a lot of people that do Tai Chi don't really discuss this stuff. I feel it's really important, meaning I want to physically be aware of my body and how I'm using it, not just to do this movement, right? Like, in other words, again, like the people that do the single whip like this, and they roll this stuff. They roll the knee in, like this kind of stuff. Or they push the knee out and push it back, that kind of stuff like that. If that is how I need to do the movement, I have to say to myself, is that going to cause me an issue with my body later? Just because somebody says this is the way it is, right? Like the example in Chang Tai Chi, when we do snake creeps down, look, see, my knee goes over my toes this way. And look, I'm not pushing into this knee. There's no reason to do that stuff. The movement is a flow anyway. Either your hand is across the front of their torso and this leg is behind them and you're dumping them this way, or you're holding their arm, this hand comes between their legs and you shift and throw them over the top. That way. But to go all the way to the ground, for aesthetics, maybe it looks good, or you want to really, you're younger and you want to push your body, but is it going to hurt your body? Is it going to be bad on your knees? I would rather do the movement in a more practical way. Maybe it's not as, maybe it doesn't look as, appealing, doing this kind of stuff, and sinking down and dropping to do the move. Maybe that looks better than doing it this way. But I know that this is practical and it works for application. And I also know, too, that it's going to be less of an issue of hurting my joints. So that's what I'm getting at with all of this stuff. So anyway, those points there. Don't shift into the knee. No reason to rock on the feet. This kind of stuff. There's two reasons. One, I'm taking away this additional power that I could have. But also, too, by keeping your feet like this, you're not as rooted to the ground. You're more likely to maybe lose your stability, or the person to be able to take advantage of you rocking on the foot, right, or rocking on this foot. So the knee, avoid the rocking. Don't round the back. Remember, I want a line from here all the way down. My pelvis, my shoulder, and my foot are relatively in the same line. Right? But I don't want to do like that. Now, if I bend the knee, I can be straight up like this, but again, now I've got this line. See? And that's fine. But I don't want to have the foot here and push the knee out like that either. Right? So it takes experience over time to be more and more aware of these things for yourself, But then if you learn this program, you want to share it with other people. You want to make sure you're not causing harm. And we don't want to hurt people. So again, just because somebody says that's the move and it should be done like that, what's the reasoning behind it? I'm telling you very clearly what my reasoning is behind why I do this move this way. And it doesn't detract from the form, nor does it detract from the ability to execute the movement in an application situation if you're a younger person and you want to practice it that way. So anyway, there's a whole lot more on this subject, but those points are the most important. That will help you greatly right off the bat. And if it hurts, don't do it. Meaning, like if you know you've got a chronic issue, people come to me, let's figure out a way that we can do this movement, like I have a student, he has kind of like a frozen shoulder, you can't really push the arm up. Well, we can compensate for that, but we can also try to help with the mobility of it. But at the same time, I shouldn't be trying to, you got to get that hand up there, you got to get it up there, but this guy's in pain and he's in this situation. No, we're going to modify that movement to fit for his injury or his old existing injury. But at the same time, we should be working on mobility exercises for that shoulder to see if we can free it up some. That would be the same thing for the back or the knees, or the ankles, or the elbows, or any other part of a person's body. So anyway, I hope you liked the video, and thank you for watching.